Hello, Married at First Sight, Season 15, Episode 15. So, where are we right now? I like it when they continue the episode from through the event. So, on this episode, they're all leaving the weekend, and so the car rides back home are interesting. Before Miguel and Lindy left, they actually got some of their stuff out because she said that she was in such a mood that she didn't even want to get in the car with him. So they were able to kind of, iron that out so that they could get back to their house, in the city. And what else? I'm trying to think about this episode overall. I didn't give it a self title. Um, the title of it is "Are You My Person?" And so that was the kind of theme for Miguel and Lindy. She was saying it to her friend, and it was used that phrase was used multiple times in her and his, conversation. And so Miguel was saying that for him, he wasn't proud of his behavior that weekend. He felt like it was inappropriate for him to, shut her out and to get all deep into his feelings over and be triggered by, inconsequential things. So he said he felt like he hit a wall. And they were doing the definition. They were splitting the hairs of what does this mean. My mad is not what you say is mad. I was annoyed. So like when they were at the vineyard and he was saying that he thought that this was like an outburst, and she was like, an outburst? This is not an outburst. This is just a hiccup. So they need to get their definitions down of what they understand words to mean. It can kind of seem like minutia, but I think it's really important because it kind of eliminates a lot of misunderstanding, because this is a lot of what's going on here. There are perceptions about where they think the other one is, and their emotions is driving a lot of this. So getting those definitions down, I think, would kind of clear a lot up, so that when they see these things happening again, they're like, oh, okay, I saw him like this on the vacation. So what was going on? He was tired, so that makes him cranky. And then he's looking at her like, okay, what was happening with her? Is she hungry? Because, I know that hungry Lindy can come up and, show us something. So we have to use these definitions and, like I said, go back and line them up with things that we're seeing, in our partners, to help us build that more accurate picture about what's going on, instead of jumping into our feelings because we're confused. So it was interesting. Let's see. They were at the apartment, and he gave her an envelope, and he showed her that the insurance card had come in, which I thought was pretty good. I thought it was, a lot of people were like, well, why would they put her on his, because he could just take her off. I mean, it's not that big of a deal. And any care that she gets while she was married to him, okay, fine. It's how much care can she really get, from him in a couple of weeks? So, they were talking about the name change thing. And her thing to him was, I'm cool with where I am with my name. You're the person who has the problem with the name change. So, in order for you to be able to have this, I'm going to have to feel a certain kind of way, and I'm not feeling a certain kind of way. And he's like, well, where's this doubt coming from? And she's like, it's coming from you. Because when we run into what you call outbursts and I call a hiccup, or situations, then you immediately go back to, I don't know if I can do this. I don't know. And if you want her to take your conversation seriously, Miguel, she's taking you seriously. And you can't control how seriously she decides to take it. So it's like, you're going to have to do something with your words. You can't say things, and you know how this conversation is going to trigger her anyway. Just trying to have it. So when you go there and you just unload on her and say, "Oh well, I don't know, I doubt, I'm not sure," and him and her, and that can create that opportunity, for her to doubt and be like, changing my name isn't as easy as taking somebody off your insurance. You can just call up the insurance company, and if they need to, they can send you a form to sign, and then that's it. But for a name change, you actually have to go through the court, and, it's a process. So I do understand, that part. And he didn't like the way she said it to him. She was like, "I'm doing this for you." Like she's bestowing something upon him. And in one way, she is. But in another way, he's already lived up to his part of a commitment. That was big for him to do that for her. And I think she could have been more sensitive in the way that she, was talking, to him. And he took that offensively. And he was like, "Okay, we'll just let it stay that way." And then she didn't like it when he said that. So it's like, Lindy, you're going to have to be okay with something. I mean, you sat there and made the case for keeping your name. And he's like, "Okay, fine. If you want to keep your name, keep your name." You didn't like the way he said it. He didn't like the way that you said something. You guys are going to have to get together, on this communication, because it's getting ridiculous, at this point. It went from, now it's like at such a level of sensitivity that it's painful. To listen to them, have a conversation, with each other. So they went, no, they didn't. The friends came. The friends came over to play Dungeons and Dragons. And Miguel said that it was still awkward, between them. So hopefully this will kind of break some ice and kind of loosen them up and get them, back to a level of connectivity. So when they were trying to explain the game to Lindy, it takes a special kind of person to really like this game. I can see why kids like it, because kids have an imagination and they can go there. You start talking about something, they can pick that stuff up, and next thing you know, y'all are Alice in Wonderland, jumping down the rabbit hole. But for adults, it kind of makes me wonder, why would adults be interested in having this level of imagination just to be able to play a game? It kind of reminds me of people who use, because, recreational drugs is something that I'm kind of on the fence about. I understand why people would want to engage, in them, but then I also see the danger. So the point that I'm trying to make is, it's like, I wouldn't want to be that high. I would not want to be that out of control with my emotions and my feelings. So I could kind of understand it on this emotional level that they're on as well. They don't want to get too far out there and, feel like they're out of control and don't have any way to handle, themselves. That's what I see when, especially when you go out and you see people, strung out on drugs and stuff. It's like they don't have any control over themselves anymore. And I wouldn't want that, So I can kind of really understand, where they are with each other. This is a time that Miguel is going to have to dig deep and get some patience. And Lindy is going to have to dig deep and, look at herself. She's crying about him trying to control her, but part of what he was saying to her was manners. You need to have some manners, and having manners isn't controlling, somebody. So she wants to be able to kind of express herself the way that she wants to, and he's telling her, "Fine, you can do that, but this is going to cause a negative reaction from me. I'm not going to be able to hear what you're saying, but you're so thirsty in order to be able to say it this way." Instead of trying to learn how to read language and put your feelings, that energy into the opportunity to say something meaningful that's true for you, but then that's also giving him an opportunity to hear what you're saying, process it, and then come back with an appropriate response that you both are going to be able to live with. So that was just kind of crazy. I thought their friends were very supportive. They really couldn't say much. I think that his friend really did kind of pick up on what Lindy was thinking, because she's saying to him, I think she just doesn't want you to give up. So she wants to know that you're going to still, fight. And with Lindy's friend, she was just more of a sounding board, for her. And just kind of was like, well, if he's not able to accept things about you that are fundamental, then maybe he's just not, your person. I still think that some of the stuff Lindy is crying about is superficial, but that's the way that she feels. So there's a scene at the end where they were I guess it's like a camera that's set up in the living room. It is a camera that's set up in the living room, but we got the audio and the video from it. And they were talking after her friend left, and I kind of wondered, what was this about? And he was saying that he didn't want her talking to her friends in a way that when he gets around them, then he's feeling like they're looking at him in a derogatory manner because of something that she said to them. He doesn't want to have that, as a environment to be around when they're together. So it kind of made me wonder if he walked in when she was talking to her friend, because when I first saw it, I thought that they had gone out of the apartment into another place in the building to go talk. But then when I watched it again, they were in the apartment. So it kind of makes me wonder if Miguel walked in and then he picked up on the energy that something that they were having a serious discussion, and he assumed that it had something to do with him. That's the thing that popped into my head. I don't have any proof of that as of yet. If I see something, I'll clip it and put it down there. So we're going to move on to Mitch and Christian coming back from the vacation. They were talking about Miguel and Lindy and how it was interesting to see them hit their wall so late, after everybody else had already kind of experienced that in some fashion, before, this point. And so she was saying that you just feel for people when you see them, going through it. It is painful, even as a viewer, watching it. Because we have high hopes, for Lindy and Miguel. And so Mitch went on to a convention. I'm sure it had something to do with environmentalism. And he did a video call with Christian. And when they were talking, before he went to the conference, they were kind of going over, the weekend. And he was saying that he liked her that weekend. He liked that she was trying to put, some of her... bury some of her hatchets and loosen up and really just kind of embrace herself and the experiment more. So he likes this Christian that he's seeing, and I thought she was really receptive to that marriage. So when they were on a video call, they made a date that when he got back they were gonna go with shredding and surfing. And so they took Luna, which was really cool. It was a cool scene. Mitch even ended up giving Luna a little kiss. So he's, warming up to her. And I know that that's helping Christian feel better, about Mitch. That he's embracing, her dog so openly and with care. And so when they were riding to the... ocean to go surfing, they were talking about the conference, and Mitch with his mouth and told her that the women there were looking good and he was drinking. As a matter of fact, he got a hangover, and she's looking around like, okay, where's your ring? And he said, oh, it's right here. And then wanted to put it on. And then he explained that for him, with the crowd that he hangs around, he's told his friends about the whole married at first sight thing. But he hasn't told people like at work, And I actually understood that because he said that with his boss, this would be too juicy for him not to want to have this as a story. And he was like, the spotlight would be on me, and he just didn't want to put himself in that situation at that time. And so he felt like that it would just be better for him to take the ring off. I just would have put it on a different finger, but you do you, Mitch. And then I think now that he's kind of talked to other people, because they were talking with Alexis and Justin at the end of the episode, and I actually clipped this out so y'all can go see it. And Christian is giving him a hard time about not having his ring on, and so he explained it, but then Alexis, gave him feedback, and I think that he would try to make a different decision. I'm not sure what that decision would be. I still don't think he wanted to put the ring on. So he didn't want it on his ring finger. I understand that. What he would have done with it, other than leave it in the car as a different decision, I'm not sure. But there was this conversation that he has been having too. When the episode opened and Lindy was sitting at the table talking and just venting, to them, he was understanding some of the dynamic that she was talking about, and he was saying how hard it was for him that these are two things that are happening with him. He's got regular Mitch that hasn't been married, that's still there, and then he also now has married Mitch. So how do you bring these two Mitches together in order for them to function and be a cohesive unit with one another? So that's kind of his dilemma that I'm picking up this episode, and he said it a couple of times. So and Christian was doing her analogies, our marriage is like surfing, and when you get past the break point, then it's all calm. And she made another analogy other than the surfing. So I think that one is one of the clips, as well, and you'll see it. So when they're doing ping pong, they said that Justin is the star of ping pong, and they got into a discussion with Justin and Alexis. And I guess I'm going to save that for them, for Justin and Alexis. But the Mitch and Christian part is when Christian was saying that for her, she needs the affirmation, because her and Justin had a conversation about affirmation. And that would help with her ability to decide what she's going to do for decision day. And with Mitch, it's, well, what is going to happen as far as us living and combining our lives together. And so his idea to her at dinner was to, let me see, I'm trying to think if this was the conversation that they had. So I understand that Christian wants more concrete energy coming from Mitch, but Mitch is not in a place where he can give her that level of concrete energy. What he can do is to tell her where he is today, and he doesn't know if that's going to be enough. So it's almost like him and Justin and Alexis and Christian are still, they're all kind of going through it at some point, but of similarity. But I could see some similarities that they were going through, because Mitch and Alexis, I think, were feeling about the same. And then Justin and Christian were kind of feeling, the same. So it was an interesting discussion. Like I said, I clipped it so you guys can go and check it out. I think that's it that I have for them right now. So yeah, let's go ahead and do Justin and Alexis. Coming back from the weekend, Justin and Alexis are in the car. Alexis is like, yeah, and they said that Stasha is a freak. And she's like, oh, I wish we could be like that. And he was like, you can be freaky. And she said, yeah, well, about that. And so I guess they were talking about Justin's lack of performance. And so he was like, well, I think I really do need to work on my stamina. So I'm going to take, that seriously when I get to the gym. And she was like, do they have any equipment in there that works on thrust too? And, yeah, Alexis, girl, your mouth, girl, your mouth. So the next thing we see with Justin is Maya. He goes to pick her up, brings her back so that his friend can take her, because he wants to give him and Alexis an opportunity to move in together and do this whole marriage try. And so we'll see. And he wants Alexis to really give him a level of credit for this gesture, that he's making. And this is where part of their communication, comes in. Because they're both saying things, but they're both not really connecting to what the other is saying. Like, when, after Maya left, they were on the couch, and Alexis, was asking him, how he felt. And so he said, well, I hope that this is something that really proves to you that I'm committed, to what we got going on. And she's like, yeah, I really appreciate it. She said, but what I would appreciate you not doing is throwing it in my face. I don't want to be made to feel that you got rid of Maya for me. And I actually kind of understand what Alexis is talking about, because Maya was a hazard to Justin. If Maya had attacked somebody else's dog and that dog owner wanted to sue Justin, that's a liability. If Maya had bit somebody, that is a liability to Justin. So this actually really did need to happen. He needed to either put her somewhere where she could be free and not have to be worried about getting, charged, with attacking, somebody. But then you all know how I feel about him training her with Cesar Millan. So he has options that he utilized one of them, but it was just something that Justin was going to have to think about, anyway. And he didn't have firm control over her. And he just kind of let things, kind of happen instead of being intentional with putting these two dogs together so that they could figure out how they were going to get along before just letting, Newton just run around the house, without a leash. They both should have been on a leash, and they both should have been given the opportunity to sniff around each other, sniff their beds and all this before just making them show up and then having this. And so it's still a mess. And I do understand where she's coming from, with that. I do understand where Justin is coming from, that this is a serious gesture, that he's making. And he's going to have to, she's not going to feel the way that he wants her to feel about giving away Maya. It's not going to happen. And she's not going to tell him what he wants to hear as a result of that. And with Alexis, he's going to feel that way. And he's going to resent you if he sees that, or it feels like you're not giving a level of sacrifice to the marriage that he has. If he feels that, then it's just going to be bad. So you guys are going to have to come together and let the other one, this is one where you have to show. They have to feel and show to the other person that I get what you're saying. The words that they're saying to each other are hollow, because where's the action that's going to be able to manifest what your words are saying? So it's kind of up in the air. I thought Justin was kind of back and forth. What do I have down here? He says that he is upset because Alexis, he feels, is only 90% in. And when Mitch asked him, was that good enough? He said no. And Alexis is like, well, Why is he making his decision based on her decision? You have your own experience as an individual in this relationship. So how do you feel? So if you feel like this is good and it's something that you want to continue, then that's how you feel. I, on the other hand, may agree with you or I may not. And it could go vice versa. So, her thing was too, in that video that I clipped when they was doing the ping pong, she said that she could have played along with him and let him and gave him the words that he wanted to hear. Her thing is, if she comes with a but after what she said, then it kind of hollows out the first part of all the affirmation stuff, that he wants to hear from her. So she don't want to put herself in that situation. And her conversation was more cautious than I think it normally is, because she's trying to be cognizant of what comes out of her mouth and what she's going to be able to deliver. And so when he's doing his evaluation, he is saying that to Nate, he was saying that he was 90% sure that he was going to want to leave the relationship, and he was only 10% in. So how is it that it's okay for you to have your 90%, but then when she's saying that her 90% is not good enough? This is circular, and I'm seeing that as a theme. It's just a whole lot of back and forth of people expressing themselves, but are you really, really listening to what you're being told, to what the person is expressing to you? You're getting your stuff out, but do you understand that they're actually receiving your message? And then he said something that I thought was interesting. He said that, well, we're a week out, so you should know. When he doesn't even know. So why is it that she has to be certain when he said that he's at 90% no? So if I were going to be a judge between them, her 90% yes is actually better than his 90% no. And he's so caught up in his feelings that he doesn't even see that. All he hears is that, oh, it's not 100%. You're not 100%. So, yeah, man, I ain't doing this with them. I'm not doing this. Nate and Stasha. Nate and Stasha. Okay, hold on. My battery. Where were they? What were they doing? Okay, so they were driving home from the weekend, and I think they were kind of patting themselves on the back because they're in such a good place, with each other. And that's what I'm glad for them, because they needed that. They all need to be able to just enjoy each other and have a weekend. So I'm glad that they experienced that together. So this is the first time that he visited the house that Stasha had built, for herself. And I think that this was a missed opportunity, for Nate. I think that he already knows how hooked up and connected she is to this house. So it's almost like he has to come in and really kind of reintroduce himself. I would have, I would have been doing all of that. And he comes in making suggestions. Like they were looking out of the backyard, and he was like, she said that she wanted to put down concrete. And he was like, wow, it's not that big of a yard. You just throw down some grass. It's just that she don't want to deal with the maintenance. And he was like, well, I'll do it. And there was no confidence coming from her that she accepted and understood what he said. I clipped it, so you go look at it, and see what you want to say, about it. And then they went to the hardware store. This is another opportunity where he could have oohed and ahed and just was like, okay, well, what are you thinking about? And just kind of went with her. She did her rationale, and you know how you play jump rope? And he just could have jumped in and been like, oh, okay, yeah, I see that. And this, that, and the third. And could have made her feel more comfortable about whatever decision she was going to make. about, the fixtures instead of being all sullen. And it's like, well, it's your house, it's not my house, so I don't want to feel uncomfortable. But this is what you're doing to make it uncomfortable. And then he's like, oh, well, since you're saying that design is a priority for you, then yeah, I'll let you, I'll allow you to have the living room, or rooms that are really, really important to you, because she said that he could have a garage. So if he wants to take over and make that his project, then that's cool. So I think he was either messing with her, or he was just trying to reverse it. But either way, the energy just really was deflated, because it's her house, Nate, and you know this. You knew this going into it. So I don't even understand why this is a thing. If it's not, then you don't make enough to put y'all in an apartment, and y'all are not um in deep enough for her to put it up on the market. So it's almost like you're gonna have to do this time in this house, and then y'all gonna have to get to a point. Do you want to sell the house and go and buy something, together? Do you want to move in an apartment and have one built? But this is not something that you can talk about, right now. And you're just going to have to go along with the program, man. I mean, it's not that difficult. This is a power issue. I see this dynamic, and it's going to interfere. Because what did Pastor Cal say to Alexis and Justin? He said, when you guys are not having sex with each other, then it's a power. It's a shift that's happening, with power. And that's what I see. And both of them have an issue with control up to a certain point. Because I think that with Nate, if the situation were reversed, he would be feeling some kind of way about her just showing up, making suggestions about a house that he had already did the plans for. She's already thought about all this stuff. She's probably waiting until they did get into the house together to finish doing some of the stuff, which I would have done. I would have done it during the taping, because then they could have done this together throughout, instead of waiting until the last minute. And now you've got a whole new set of problems that you're dealing with, because Nate started this kids conversation and was like, oh, look at all this white stuff you got in his houses, in his house. When kids are bad, kids are going to, spill stuff. They're going to do this. And so they went on this whole weird conversation about kids. And it really kind of makes me wonder again about the therapy that Nate needs to, go to. And that he said that he was so eager to get in, because towards the end of the episode, they were coming back, and they were still having this conversation about kids. They went on a hike. They went on a hike, and he took her and made guacamole out in the boondocks. I mean, that's just, I didn't see a picnic basket or nothing. Can't y'all just carry a picnic basket with you, even if it's empty? Can you help us out? So y'all walking, and all of a sudden you get here with a blender and a bowl and a knife and avocado and stuff, and now you just out here with chips and guac. Okay, Married at First Sight. So, I do have something to say about Stasha and her approach to this whole house business. I remember when they got back from the honeymoon, and the first thing she said to him when they were walking into their apartment was for him to take his shoes off. And so then when she went to go and visit his apartment, she got into his bed with her shoes on. So not only did she not take her shoes off when she got into his apartment, she jumped in the bed with shoes on, knowing that she would have had a fit if he had done that in her place. And so when they were talking about the shoes conversations in the house, she said that not only did she want him to take off his shoes when he gets to the door, he has to walk around in socks, because she doesn't want the oils from his feet to get into the rug. She's trying to keep it as clean as possible for as long as possible without having to have it professionally clean. But she didn't have any socks on. So there's or any slippers. She just had bare feet. So the very thing that she said that she didn't want to see Nate do, she's doing it. And that to me is hypocrisy because you're making a big deal out of it. You're making a big deal out of sink, what is it? Dishes in the sink. And he said, "Well, you leave dishes in the sink too." She's like, "Yeah, I'm leaving them here when we're in this experiment, but this is not going to happen as an everyday occurrence when you move up in here." So again, you got to be consistent, Stasha. It's like you can't come out and be somebody brand new when you're telling him that this is what he's getting after this 8-week, experiment. And I'm just, it's exhausting. It really is. So where is it? So Nate and Justin were at the gym, and that's when Justin was telling Nate about the 90%. And he was mad, and he was saying that he thinks Alexis played him. I can't say that, Justin. I really honestly can't say that. Alexis is trying to do all this on this show just like you are. She's not a professional in this, and neither are you. And then here goes Judge Nate. He called her a liar. He said that he thinks that she's stringing Justin along, and he called her immature. And I'm tired of Nate. I really am. He's exhausting. And so Justin was telling him about a text that he sent to Alexis about this affirmation that him and Christian ended up talking about later in the episode. And he didn't like that Alexis didn't give him a straightforward answer. He wanted her to just vomit out an answer to him. And with Alexis, I understand that when she got the message, she understood that this was a bigger conversation than just sending him back a text saying yes or no. Remember the thing, do you want to be my girlfriend? And then check a box yes or check a box no. You got to have a deeper conversation than that, Justin. So then Nate was like, well, yeah, she's really open and upfront about everything else. So why can't she talk about this? Because it's a delicate matter, Nate. She can't just talk. In this conversation, her not talking has just as many repercussions as her talking. So later, when Alexis explains it and says that she didn't want to say yes and then have to put a but because she feels like that negates the yes. So these are the kind of conversations, the nuances of the conversation. See, Justin has sat up and built all this stuff up in his head about, well, why she ain't talking to me? She'll say something when it's something else. Well, why don't you ask her, Justin? That was reasonable when she was talking to Christian and Mitch. So if you had done that and had that conversation with her, that conversation in the gym didn't even need to happen. This is just a kind of, and then I ain't even going to talk about Nate with that no more. So Alexis and Stasha at this time, they're stretching. And Alexis is giving her side of the text that Justin sent to her. And so she's like, he wants me to tell him that giving Maya up is the solidifying thing that's going to make me say yes on decision day. And that's not where she is. And it's upsetting to him because he felt like this is a grand gesture. So she does, she gets that, part of it. Where I understand that Justin, is coming from is that he did this that night. And if I can remember, let me write this down, the clip. That night that Newton got bit, Justin was in the bedroom, and the emotions were so high. That's when he told Alexis that he was going to give away that dog. And once he said that was in her head, and there was nothing he could do to get out of it. As a matter of fact, it sounded like he was trying to backtrack, and that was going to cause big problems in their marriage. So he talks a lot without backing it up. And I think that's kind of some of the stuff that Alexa started to see in him after the honeymoon that has put them in this situation, right now. So I'm going to clip the Maya bite so that you guys can see that. So anyway, they're talking, and she asked Stasha about her thing with Nate. And Sasha goes over the whole house situation, and she said, well, did y'all find a compromise? She said no, that she felt like Nate was rattled when they were in the department store, because she said that it was a realization to him that they're moving into another reality from where they are in the experiment. And I don't know, Stasha, does she really understand the alpha that's going on in Nate right now? Because he needs to be able to adjust that in this situation, and I think that he's having a hard time doing that. So we'll see. We will see. And I think when they were having a conversation about the children, when they came back from the evening, and he was saying that his mom was 23 and his dad was 36, and she wasn't ready to be a mother. And Stasha is like, well, I'm 37, and I'm on the other end of it. If I don't become a mother now, then my chances, they go downhill, each year that goes by. And so I'm not displaying the same kind of characteristics that your mother was displaying at 22. I'm not even doing that now, childless, when we're here. So why do you think that having a child is going to make me become irresponsible and do irresponsible things, with our children, when I'm not displaying that kind of behavior today? And therapy, Nate, you gotta go, dude. You gotta go. I know that it's something that he feels like he's gotten by with up to this point, but it's kind of up to this point why you're not able to move forward and get that next stage, of relationship, because you need help. You need help to be able to do that. And that's what therapy will give you the opportunity to do. And so Stasha feels like when he does that, when he goes into his fear, that he's coming at her with that fear in a unjustified way, because now you're saying that this is what you see my character as. You don't see me as someone who could be responsible enough to bring a child, into this world, or bring your child, into this world. So she feels like that's a hit on her character, and I can kind of understand that. So, yeah, Nate is special. We've known this. I knew it's the money. I've had this conversation, with y'all before about money, and it's going to be a problem. Even after Nate starts making the kind of money that he wants to make, I think it's still going to be a problem. I don't think that money, that they can have enough to alleviate any problems around it, that they're having. So that's Married at First Sight, episode 15. I appreciate everybody. If y'all want to, give me some feedback, how do you like the videos? What's going on? I'd like to hear, from the community. And all of the new subscribers, welcome. And until the next video.